Well, farmers and ranchers often invest in activities that are related to their business. However, sometimes those investments are not as closely related. When those side investments produce income, it is generally passive in nature and might be subject to additional tax. So joining us now for today's Rural Money segment is Roger McEowen with the Washburn University School of Law. Roger, thanks for joining us once again. So what happens when these side investments maybe lose money?
Well, that's really the catch, Janet, and good to be with you again this morning. When they make money, that's good. The only problem, as you mentioned in the open, is that there's an additional tax that was included in the health care law a few years ago that will tack on an additional 3.8% to this passive income. But when these activities lose money, and what we're talking about here would be a farmer that has another activity, maybe condominium grain storage, LLC investment down at the local co-op, so that they can secure storage for their crops, or interest in an ethanol plant or a biodiesel plant that kicks off some passive income to them. But when those activities lose money, then what happens is that their ability to deduct those losses to offset their farming income is severely limited. And they're going to have to hold those losses until basically they dispose of their interest way down the road.
And can those side investment activities maybe be grouped with a Schedule F activity to get around any limitations on deductions?
Well, yes, they can, but the IRS and the Treasury have specific rules that govern grouping. So you've got to have your investment interest be very similar to your farming business. There has to be common control between the two activities, common ownership. It has to be geographically located close to your farm, and there has to be an interdependence between the activities. And sometimes those requirements can be very hard for a farmer or rancher to satisfy.
Now, I understand that grouping multiple activities is permitted, that is, if the activities actually constitute an appropriate economic unit. How is that actually determined, though?
Yeah, that's basically the factors that I just went through. That's how the IRS determines whether we have an appropriate economic unit. And what it boils down to is whether you're investing in a side activity that is related to what you need for your farming business, such as a place to store your crops down at the co-op, or maybe you have an obligation to deliver grain to an ethanol plant, so you invest in the plant. And so you're a passive investor, but there's a relationship to your farming business. That's what IRS is looking for.
Now, Roger, I know that you also keep a lot of notice about this on the World Wide Web. If folks wanted to follow along and maybe dig in a little deeper, where could they find some of that information?
On my blog, which you can access through my website, and that's washburnlaw.edu/WALTR.
All right. Well, Roger, as always, thank you for joining us. Roger McEowen with the Washburn University School of Law on the phone with us today from Topeka.